Hi, I'm Dan Wilkins, Product Manager here at AvePoint.
I'm Edmund White. I'm a Field Product Manager here at AvePoint. Today we're going to talk to you about how to assess risk in SharePoint. So Microsoft has made a lot of progress in the compliance area, mostly in DLP. But before we can even talk about DLP, we need to really understand and assess what is in our environment.
As a former attorney, I can tell you firsthand that risk is one of the most important things that an organization has to manage. For many organizations, SharePoint admins have that responsibility for managing and reducing that risk for their environments.
In the past, SharePoint admins have treated SharePoint kind of like landlords. So they'll give you a space and you can do whatever you want in that space. The truth is that they actually own a lot more risk when it comes to audits and it comes to breaches. That risk can come from a few different areas. The kind of content that's being stored in the environment, who has access to that content, and whether your policies and configurations have changed.
Edmund, I couldn't agree further. There's a large problem with just native SharePoint and trying to get reporting on what risk is going on inside of your environment. And it can come in many forms, whether it's audit reports, actual visualizations or metrics about your report, risk scores, or even being able to do a search for some of these different things that are landmines in that environment. Your landlord needs to do inspections, and unfortunately, SharePoint just doesn't give you the capability to do that out of the box.
So understanding these issues, here at AvePoint, we've built solutions that will help you assess this risk in your SharePoint environment.
So one of those solutions is compliance reporting. We're going to take a look across your entire environment to see and identify sensitive content and give you the ability to create a risk profile around it.
You can also take a look at your permissions, right? Who has access to what in the environment, and also that audit trail of who's done what in your environment. So in this demo, what we'll show you is how to build this complete risk assessment profile using our solutions.
The first step to building a comprehensive risk assessment of your environment, and your SharePoint environment especially, is to really understand what is inside the content in your SharePoint library. So that starts here with compliance reports in Compliance Guardian. What I've done is selected one of our policies, in this case a personal health information scan policy. There are many here to choose from, PII, ITAR. There's custom ones for my organization. And this policy has been applied to a scope within SharePoint where I really want to develop this risk profile of what kind of PHI risk I have in that data. So you can see we're looking for a few different items that would indicate PHI data, including personal phone and fax numbers, geographical information, medical account numbers, things like that. And we get a violation report and details about which files have failed and why. So if I take a look at this site information.txt file, we can see that we have a certain check that's failed, but most have passed. Here's another one. So what we can do with this information is, instead of having a long list of failures, what we want to do is start to prioritize these. So what we've done is weighted them. So things like social security numbers, credit card numbers, medical account numbers would have a higher weight than a phone number or an email address. So from this risk report, we're developing a risk profile of exactly how dirty are these documents in my environment. So here I have a taxinformation.txt file that's scoring quite high. So this might be a place where I would want to start and validate and maybe take action. In order to work with this information more closely, I want to export this risk profile into a data sheet so I can share it with the officers who would need to take action on this or to understand what's in their particular environments. What's great about this export is this is where we start to look at the comprehensive risk assessment. As we were saying, understanding what's in the documents is important, but also who has access to them and what's happened to them as well. So as I export this risk profile, I can also include my audit trail information, maybe for this month, and also my security information reports, meaning who has access to what in this environment. So when I click OK, I get data sheets downloaded to my laptop. Let's take a look at what those look like. So the first one is my risk profile. So you can see it's set up in the same way as it was in the browser. We're sorting by the risk level. We have the file locations for each of these. And we also have information about when they were created, who created them, when they were last modified, and then full data about what was passed and what was failed. So for example, we had 10 instances of failure in geographical information in these documents. So this is a comprehensive sheet that we can work with outside of the browser, maybe with some colleagues. One of the other ones we get is the who has access to what. So this is part of a security search. We have our security scopes here at both the site collection and the site level. And what we're seeing is the identities of the users and groups, as well as their permission levels. In the case of custom permissions, we also have columns out here for exactly which permission level is included. And then the third sheet that we get is an audit trail. So now we're starting to see how relevant is this content and how often has it been accessed. So for example, we have information about the last access time, the number of times it was accessed, and again, who modified it and when. Unique visitors here as well. So we're starting to get a real look at where the issues are in our environment and where we can get started. These spreadsheets are here for convenience sake. More robust versions are also available in DocAv. So here's an example of the security search report within DocAv. This is the who has access to what report. And here I'm looking at explicit permissions. I'm getting full information here about path and who has access. I can even take action directly from this report. If I see something wrong, I can edit the permission or remove it. And similarly, within DocAv, the audit trail is much more extensive. So I can continue to work with the idea of, who did what where. So for example, here, I'm set up as a user lifecycle report. So I'm being grouped by user. So here I'm looking at Erica's activity over the last month. And I'm especially interested in the updates and the permissions changes that she's made. So I get the full details here. And again, both of those reports are exportable from here as well. So this should give you a full risk assessment of your SharePoint environment through using especially the Compliance Guardian compliance reports, supported by the rich permissions information that we can get from DocAv.
So before we can even start talking about DLP, we need to understand. Sorry.
We need to understand why he keeps messing up. Is it the hair, the shoes, the pants?